Hey guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts, and this is Talk to Me Tuesday for Tuesday, October 9th, 2018. I have a buddy here today. This little girl is Miss Morsy's. I don't think you guys have seen her much, if at all. And now she's leaving me. They all leave me, right? Something about me talking to myself drives the cats crazy, and they all want to be in here with me until I start babbling, and then they're out the door. Say goodbye, Miss Morsy. I think you've seen all three of our cats now. Miss Morsy, she's our youngest one. She's turning 3 this month, I believe. We got her just a couple days before Halloween, 3 years ago. She is our sick little kitty. She has intestinal issues. Just simply, she has what they're calling like a fissure. She has scar tissue in her intestines, which makes the closure of her intestines really shrink down small. So pooping is her issue, and that's why I don't let her lay on the quilt, because sometimes she has dribble butt. She can't help it. She's had a few surgeries, and she's in a lot better shape than she was when we first got her. And they said this is about as good as it's going to be. The original vet we took her to wanted us to put her down, but I kind of wanted to have, she's just such a sweet little adorable kitty. I wanted to make sure she had a chance at life, and she's been healing over the years, and every year just she gets healthier and healthier. She's never going to be perfect. She's never going to be a kitten. Well, I say kitten because she's only about 5-6 pounds at the most. But she's never going to be the kind of cat that can be left alone all day. She needs to have help doing certain things, you know, going potty and stuff. So she's our handicapped little girl. We just have to be careful not to let her lay on anything important. I kind of keep things, the couch has got covers on it and stuff, just in case she has a little accident. But she's the sweetest little girl and the feistiest. So just when you think she's all being lovey-dovey, she's one of those cats that'll just reach out and attack you. Now, I love how tiny and compact she is, but the problem with that is she still has kitten teeth and kitten claws. So if anyone is familiar with cats, when they get bigger, of course, their teeth get bigger and their claws get bigger. Then their claws, I've had scrapes all over my arms, of course. You guys have probably seen them in videos, but their claws are more, their claws. They scratch you, and it's painful, but it's a scratch. Well, Miss Morsy's got little razor blades, so she slices you open. Yeah, it's not fun, but she is the most lovable girl. She'll just sit in your lap. She loves to get wrapped up in a t-shirt like you would when you bundle up a little baby. She likes to be bundled up tight, kind of holds her all nice and secure, and then she just sits in my lap while I read a book. So she's a snuggle bug. Now the quilt I wouldn't let her get on. So this is what it looks like completely quilted, and I love the fact that since I alternated each row and each column, I ended up with these little diamond square shapes in the center. I think as an overall large scrappy quilt that this would be really fun. I imagine this as a queen size or king size quilt would be really fun to have on your bed. Plus it would use up a lot of scraps. I still have to trim it and bind it. I never got around to that this weekend. It was my plans, but hubby and I had a little circumstance we had to take care of. You guys know I have tons of construction going on up and down my road, and when they were digging the big 6, 7, 8 foot ditches to put the pipes in, they were hitting these giant boulders. So they were bashing it with all their equipment, their metal pipes, their diggers, everything. It was making the house would shake and rattle. You could hear the windows rattling. Even my neighbor next door was kind of getting a little nervous because we all thought our houses were going to cave in. Well, my house did, in a way. Now, in our garage, we have drywall ceilings. So you have basically your attic with all the trusses and the wood framing and stuff. I have a wood frame house, no cement anywhere except for the foundation. And this drywall, because it kept rattling, and my house was built in '87, it just kept rattling, and then it would pop out, the drywall popped off the screws that were holding it in. Now, you figure all that vibration, it doesn't take much. With all the hurricanes we've had, we had a little bit of damage to our house last year, and I think maybe it got a little, not wet, but maybe damp, and that contributed to it. So about a quarter of the ceiling caved in. We had to replace a 4-foot wide by 8-foot long piece of drywall. Now, I don't drive a truck, and hubby and he has back problems, and I've got the neck and shoulder issues, so it was a little bit hard for us to deal with a 4-foot by 8-foot piece. So we had up at Lowe's, we had it cut into 2-foot by 4-foots, and then we went through and we pieced the ceiling back together. Now, right now, it still needs to have the drywall tape and mudded in and all that, but for right now, we can only do things in certain segments, so as our bodies allow it, we'll go ahead and make it pretty. But for right now, it's taken care of. There's not going to be we're not going to lose cool air or heat or anything like that. There's not going to be creatures getting up in there, so it may not be pretty to look at, but it's a garage that's kind of full of junk anyway. That is definitely the messiest, most unorganized place in the house. You know, you gotta have one of those rooms that are a dumping ground. Well, our dumping ground is the garage. It is what it is. So instead of binding my quilt, that's what we ended up doing. We ended up working together, surprisingly. I don't know how you guys are with your hubbies, but my hubby and I, we don't think on the same wavelengths. I tend to be more creative, not surprising, in the way I do things. He used to build houses for a living, so he kind of thinks in that type of sense. So he's like, boom, 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 this is how you do it. I'm like, well, can't we kind of do it this way? Wouldn't that be easier for us and quicker? No, it has to be this way. Well, this time you learn, kind of listen to your wife, and the wife can be right, so things went nice and smoothly. We were able to finish it up in about an afternoon. We still need to go back. I'm hoping for that tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow should be a good day for us. We're going to go through and add more screws into the ceiling to make sure the rest of the ceiling doesn't cave in. We can see where it's kind of bowing down a little bit. It's not like water damage bowing, but you can just see the separation, that it's kind of starting to pop those screws down a little bit. So before it all caves in on us, we want to make sure we get in there and put them all in. The only thing that's making it hard, besides the problems with everyone's broken body, is to get the ladder around this little garage. And there's the lawnmowers and stuff like that, and some things that are just too hard to move out of the way, so we're just having to move the ladder, kind of work around them. It's a mess, let's just say it. It's a mess. But it's our mess. We take responsibility for it, and we're the ones that are dealing with it, right? So that's my plan for next week. I need to get this trimmed up. This is the first time I quilted on that little Singer. I just did straight line quilting, basically stitch in the ditch on both sides, top to bottom and side to side. But I think the feed dogs are really, really powerful on this. In some of the spots, when I got down to the end, I had about 1.5 inches, 2 inches. I didn't have a lot of extra backing, but I did have some. And with my other machine, it would have been enough. But with this one, it kind of pulled in different fashion, and I'm short on the back, basically. I'm just short on the back, so I'm going to have to trim it up, and I'm going to lose a little bit. But since I don't have points or anything, I'm not cutting anything off, it'll be perfectly fine to go ahead and trim the bottom just a little bit. I have plenty on the sides, and I have plenty on the top for the most part, and then I'll go ahead and get it all bound up. I'm thinking of just grabbing some, because I want to use up this button fabric. I might go ahead and I'm just going to lay it along the side to see what it looks like. I might use a good chunk of this, or I might just go ahead and go completely scrappy like I did the back, and just use a bunch of variety. I really think it would probably look kind of good based on the fabrics I used if I used mostly blue, but we'll see what I have left in the scrap area. I don't want to use anything that's not already in the quilt, and I'm really not interested in doing a white binding, so I'll find something. It'll be a nice take-along quilt. Maybe I'll keep this one in the car for, well, it's not like we actually have children and go anywhere anymore. All our kids are all grown up, but I don't know. I'll find a use for it. It might be just something that I let the dog have or the cats lay on. My next scrappy quilt is definitely going to be a scrappy log cabin. I'm kind of thinking a little bit of a wonky one. I don't know, I've always liked, I've made the log cabins and they look great, but I like to make if I'm going to make a regular log cabin, I don't really care as much for it to be scrappy. I kind of like it to be where you can set it all up and have the different designs and stuff with your blocks and have it look almost 3D or circular, whatever. I kind of like the wonky ones when you use the scraps. And kind of, I don't know, I just kind of like the wonky ones, that's all. So that's it for me this week. I hope you guys are going to have a very creative week. And I hope anyone who is in the path of this new hurricane, any of my Florida friends, I hope you guys are preparing and staying safe. By the time you see this, it'll probably be either coming towards you already or have already hit you. I think it's expected right now to hit landfall up in the Panhandle on Wednesday. I know we're going to get parts of it through here because we are going to be on the right-hand side of it, so we're going to get a lot of those feeder bands coming through. And if it keeps moving east like it has been, then we're probably going to get a good portion of it. But if it stays lined up where it is, we're just going to get a lot of nasty weather this week. Which, I don't want dangerous nasty weather, but I do kind of like sewing in the rain and stuff like that. Not outside in the rain, just in the room. I like how it cools everything down and it kind of relaxes me with the repetitive sound of the rain. So wherever you are, stay safe, be happy, and do something creative. Bye.